I want to welcome my listeners back to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers podcast. And I'm doing a series of interviews with attorneys so that we can learn more about how to create plans that will help us as we age, but even more so when we lose the ability maybe to make some of those decisions. And so I don't want you to get nervous. I don't want you to be anxious because that can be a response that some people will have when we say we're going to get in front of a lawyer and we're going to have a conversation. Some people may feel like it's so pretentious. I've got to go to my attorney and talk to him about my estate plan. And maybe some of you think you don't really have enough to plan with, or what's the point of planning? What do I really have? But you'd be surprised what people have accumulated in their lifetime. And so when you say to yourself, I think it's time that I make a plan, or maybe after listening to this podcast, you really feel the urgency of making that plan. I'm going to tell you that it's probably one of the smartest steps you can take. I do work for Continuum part-time, and really on intake, we're asking our clients, do you have somebody designated that can advocate for you financially or in your healthcare decisions? And often we hear, yes, but I don't know where those are. Or, gee, that's a great question. And that's why we ask it, because we really need to know who is going to advocate for you if for some reason you're unable to do that. Who are the players that we can really speak to on your behalf? So it's a great way to protect yourself. It's a great way to protect your loved ones. You would never want to intentionally, usually, to do something that could disinherit somebody or to leave them out, to not include somebody. So when you have a well-structured plan, you really simplify the process for any heirs that you have. But I will tell you this, after meeting with my guest, and attorneys, they know tax advantages that could benefit you that you may not know about. Estate planning, as we get into this with my guest Raymond Chandler, is huge, but most importantly, it's going to give you the peace of mind that you've created a plan, and it's going to give you some control over your future. So remember that estate planning is way more than paperwork, and it's a great way for you to get your wishes known. So it's estate planning would be able to learn what your goals are and to define those goals. What are you thinking about your heirs, or how you want your stuff? Where is it supposed to go? All those things have to be decided. So I invited Raymond Chandler from Polaris Law on my podcast today, and he is an experienced estate planning, probate, and elder law attorney, and he is based in St. Charles County, Missouri, but he's been practicing since 2005 and started Polaris Law Group. So he focuses on counseling families and estate planning to avoid disputes. And I say that laughing and in air quotes, disputes, like, oh, that never happens. Well, you and I both know that simple disputes happen over simple things. So when it comes to money, when it comes to property, that is a level up, right? Ray, so I want you to introduce yourself to my listeners, and then can you give us a little background in your law practice, and then how you really kind of honed in on this estate planning avenue?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah,
Perfect.
so
Thanks, Ray.
so Raymond Chandler with Polaris Estate Planning and Elder Law. Been practicing attorney for 20 years. For the last 10 years, I focused solely on estate planning and elder law as my practice area. A little bit personally about me: grew up in Kansas City, came out to St. Louis, married a North County girl, and so I'm here for now,
Good.
forever. She's got me stuck. So we got a daughter, 13, so that's kind of where we're going through life with us right now. Really, what happened is about 10 years ago, there's a part of my family we don't talk to anymore
Okay.
because somebody passed away, and there was a dispute over property. About everybody knew what was supposed to happen, but paperwork wasn't there, and the directions weren't set up. and it turned into a big giant fight, like you said, that dispute. So that hit home to me, and then it was a matter of like, why did this happen? What happened? What's wrong? And so I switched my focus over to estate planning. I was doing criminal work and bankruptcy work. I started as a prosecutor, so I started off in the criminal area, criminal law. Prosecuted for many years, then did some defense, then did some bankruptcy work, and then this event happened to my family, and so it kind of opened my eyes into what was happening out there, and I'll make sure
Yeah,
it doesn't happen to other people.
absolutely. The disputes, they can happen easily, as you and I both know, but when it's not written down, it's not going to
Yeah,
happen. It's not
yeah,
going to happen. And then the thought process is, oh, well, I'll just take them to court, and you have no idea what that means. So
right,
be careful when you say those words because you really have no idea what that means.
yeah.
I was talking to an attorney, and he goes, you know what? You failed to plan, and I get maybe 2 to 3% off the top of all your assets if we go to probate. Is that right, Ray?
Yeah, 2 to three
So,
percent, even higher sometimes.
yeah, so a little pre-planning can be cost effective. And I think that's one thing that kind of keeps people away from visiting with an attorney or putting it off. I mean, it's just a small piece of that. But I like to say that because it really, for me, brings it into perspective is that no planning causes, the disputes can, but also look at the money that you're going to be spending anyway. So why not do it in on the front end? So, okay.
Yeah,
I know, have, because we all do this, we all work with people who want to plan, and then we all work with those who are in crisis mode, and it's okay. But from your experience, why do people fail to make a plan knowing that they cannot take that with them in their where they're going when they pass? Let's be clear about that. They're not just moving to Kansas City because they don't like Missouri.
right.
But why do people fail to make a plan to divest themselves of their assets and property? What's the reasoning? What are the some help us out here? Help me understand
Yeah.
this
I
mindset.
think I think a lot of it's one just bad advice. Bad advice from
Okay.
all over the place, mostly Google now, unfortunately.
Okay.
Of
Yes.
just
Or
it'll be
AI.
okay. Yeah, or AI now. It'll be okay. Don't worry about it. It'll get taken care of. People will get your stuff. It'll work out. Um, estate planning is only about getting your house to your kids or something of that nature. So
Yeah,
a
because
lot of
that's
bad
the only
advice
thing you
out
think
there.
you own.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of bad advice out there, and people don't see some of the issues that actually can come up and cause an issue with it. Then there's a lot of the fear, and what we see a lot of times is, again, you kind of brought it up, is the fear of going to an attorney, thinking that we're just humans, but there is that fear factor, that anxiety factor of I gotta go do something big, I gotta make, I don't know exactly what I want to do yet, I don't know exactly what this looks like, anything like that. All that fear and anxiety builds up, and so people kind of push it back. Oh, I'll go take care of something else. I know how to. I know I need an oil change too, so I'll go do that instead
Yes,
because I know how
yes.
that works, right? And so that fear and anxiety it builds up, and that's one of the things we always try to like tackle as best we can is help clients understand that it's not as fearful or as hard as people sometimes see it. Um, and then just a lot of just that lack of knowledge of what this even means. So again, you go back to the like, is it just about giving my stuff away? No, estate planning is so much more than that. It's so much more about just getting my stuff to my people. But there is that problem of it should just be I want to get my stuff to my people, but the government doesn't really want you to do that. So it gets in the
Okay.
way and causes a bunch of problems. But then
Okay.
beyond that, there's a whole lot of, how are we going to take care of you? What are your decisions? How are we going to lead up to when you pass away? So when we talk about estate planning, a lot of times we talk 4 stages of life that it actually covers.
Okay. What would those stages be, Ray?
So that first stage is alive and well, where you're
Okay.
alive and well, everything's okay. That's your planning stage. That's the only stage where you can make a plan. So
Okay.
if you're in that stage, that's when it's time to go make a plan. Because the second stage is disability, and this
All
is the
right.
stage most people skip when we're talking estate planning is a disability situation, especially a mental disability situation. Estate planning covers that as well. So not being able to make financial decisions or healthcare decisions or any decisions while you're alive is part of the estate planning process as well, as covering that stage of life. And that third stage is death. And that's what most people think of estate planning is that stage of, again, giving my stuff away, taking care of my family, passing my wisdom along with my wealth and making sure that everything passes the way I want it to. And then the fourth stage that we focus on a lot of times that most people skip as well is now that we've given it away, now how do we want it to be treated? Do we
Okay.
want to protect it? Do we want to put, make sure our kids don't lose it in a divorce, a lawsuit, and anything like that? Do we want
Okay.
to give our money away and give our money to our people in a way that they get to use it, but it's protected from the outside world taking it away from them?
All right.
So,
So do you get clients from, so if you're helping a senior, and you've created this plan and now all of a sudden the senior's passed, now they are in the inheritance stage and then you can help them plan for that as well.
right. Yeah. So we can, yeah, and we can settle out that estate. So every estate needs to be settled and make the things do what it's supposed to do. Like we say, the trust doesn't have arms and legs. It can't go to the bank and do anything. So it's got to be able to do what it needs to do. Make sure that works out the way it's supposed to, and then receiving that inheritance, how to receive that inheritance the right way as well.
Wonderful. I appreciate you going through those stages. I was also thinking that there are folks that, like I said, don't feel like they have much and they
Hmm.
are embarrassed to come and let you know that as an attorney. How can you help them kind of feel comfortable where they are? We're not all
Yeah.
created equal, the same, right? We don't all
Right.
have not everybody owns two homes and six cars and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of very hardworking folks that have had a lot of life that they've lived, and this is what they have now. How can you help us kind of get to the table?
Yeah. So there's a couple things come out of that question. One is how to know what you have. And a lot of times we'll see there's very few times where you actually sit down, even taxis and anything, where you really sit down and go, okay, what is everything I own?
Mhm.
Because as part of estate planning, we've got to go through what is everything you own, like literally everything. So we make sure we don't miss anything. And there's a lot of times when we get down and add that up, and people are kind of surprised at how much they actually do own.
Right.
Between a house, a retirement account, a life insurance account, and a bank account, we've got a lot of millionaires just in that. So there's a lot of people that own a lot more than they think they do, and then we start the process off that. But then the other thing is just to know that there are so many different levels of estate planning and,
Yes.
and different plans for different people, different stages of life, and different stages of assets. And there's plans for people with a house and an IRA, and there's plans for the people who own the nursing homes, and
Okay.
like everybody in between. And there's a
Yes.
different plan for everybody and different levels of planning for everybody. So that's really what it is everybody needs a plan, but what
Hmm.
your plan is, we're not sure yet till we sit down and talk about it.
And that's what your firm does.
And that's what we do. Is
And
is
how do
part of
you
that
do that?
process.
How do you do that discovery? Do you do that or do you have somebody assigned to do that with?
Yeah, so the way our team works is we first meet with a solution specialist that will sit down and talk with the family about what their goals are, what their wishes are, what they're worried about, what they're trying to accomplish, go through their assets a little bit, and then kind of figure out in the grand scheme of things, kind of what level of planning they'll need, and
Hmm.
then and then they see one of our attorneys, and then the
Perfect.
attorney will walk through. We actually put it up on the screen, walk through the estate plan, how it should work, who goes where, what goes where, make those decisions, and then our job, mostly what we see our job is asking the questions you would ask if you know what we know. So a lot of
There
people are
you
like, what
go.
do I need? Well, okay, that's not the question. Let's back the questions up. And so since we know all the ins and outs, we know what questions you may be missing yourself. And we ask those questions with you for you to make sure we're getting to everything that you need to think about.
Yes, because some people may say, well, this is all I need. I'm just
Yep.
coming for this.
Yeah.
And then you being the expert, the professional in the field and your
Yeah.
team knows that we can't get to there because we're here, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes, like, as you say, we're not lawyers. We don't live in that world. My job in my podcast is to give you a broad brushstroke so that
Right.
you've heard some terminology, you've heard these kinds of things. And so when you're sitting with an attorney, now this is going to come back to your memory, and then you're going to be able to understand what they're telling you. And that's the other fear factor in this is, wait a minute, those documents are not readable. I can't understand what they say. And now you want me to go and sit with an attorney who's going to talk way above my head So it wasn't part of our plan to uncover the fear factor here,
Yeah,
but we have,
that's part of it.
and it's definitely part of it, you know.
Yeah.
So you can hear from Ray's voice that he's not intimidating, but he
And
has a process in place that's going to guide you.
And that's really why we built the process we did. So the first person you sit down with is not an attorney. So you can just talk English with them because they don't have the legal language. They're not an attorney, so they don't get stuck in those weeds. So that we can have that conversation in a more humanized way. But one of the things we try as hard as we can, we try to educate and speak in plain English and show how it works because we want our clients not only to have a plan but know how to use the plan. And that's really important to us is knowing how to use it.
Do people often tell you at the end of those sessions, like do you feel them take a deep breath or
Oh
say
yeah.
thank you?
Yeah, that's probably the number one response is I know that I have a plan and now I know what it says and what it does and I feel so much better. Like just the weight that's lifted off your shoulders when you finally get it done. Because it is one of those things like everybody in the back of your head know you need to get it done. But because of the fears, because of the anxiety, because of all that, it's hard to get it. But once we get it done, you can see it in their face, you can see it in their expressions, you can see it in their body language, and they say it. This I feel so much better now that this is done. I can be I get that peace of mind, I've got that confidence, I've got that clarity, and it's a world of difference for people once they get it done.
Absolutely. So listen to Ray. It's okay. We know how to help you. So those are the people that come to you and are ready to plan. The
Yeah.
people that are in crisis mode, I know you can still help them as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So crisis mode is it's harder, of course, but there's still a lot of things we can do. Probably the number
And
one
so
thing I
I
would,
just want to stop you right there,
yeah,
just because, disability, like you mentioned, a
right,
disability could happen overnight. A healthcare
yeah,
change can happen overnight. So I just want you to hear what Ray said, and that is we don't have control over these things, but we can still help you. There's a lot of things we can do. Okay, so now I want you to go forward because that's what we were kind of talking about. There's a lot of things that you can do when these healthcare needs change and when we need to make another plan, right?
yeah. And the number one thing I want people to know is there's never no options.
Okay,
Is
good.
there's always something we can do. It would have been so it's well we I can always fix the car. I wish we would have changed the oil earlier, but I can always fix the car.
Okay,
So it's one
good.
of the we can always do something. There's very little, very rarely is it where we just say there's nothing we can do, but because there's always something there that we can help take care of and help manage, or if nothing else, just help the family through it. There's some cases where at the end of the day, we don't actually do any legal work. We just sat there and helped the family understand what's happening, how to use the documents they already had, what the
Okay.
process is, things like that. So there's always options out there because one of the biggest things I see, unfortunately, is families not going to somebody and not finding an option they would have had.
Yes, yes. So if you have documents that are already put together, but now that attorney is no longer present, but you
Right.
need wisdom and guidance, which happens all the time,
Hmm.
Ray's just opening that door to let you know that they can help you with that.
Yep. Yep.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, as we were going through the estate planning, and thinking about our plan when everything is going well, but now we can see that our healthcare needs are starting to change, and we need to start thinking in reality that, I'm getting to this age. I can see that it's time for me to do my next step. I've heard something from other attorneys or even on radio shows or podcasts like Linda does about this Medicaid planning that can be part of the estate plan. So I met with Ray a couple months ago, and I really felt like he explained this portion of estate planning really well. And especially in light of, once you have the Medicaid approval, then how do you access the services? So I just wanted us to ask the question, many attorneys talk about Medicaid planning as part of this advanced estate plan. And what does that really mean? What are we doing here? And is it really right for everyone? Is it a part of everybody's estate plan or certain people's estate plan? Or I'm just going to let you dive in.
Okay. Stop me if I go too long because I am still an attorney. So I will still get into the weeds sometimes. Um, so really what we're looking at on the Medicaid side of planning, which falls under the elder law side of planning for attorneys, is the concern is the long-term care. So when
Right.
we're talking about long-term care for people, and if you look at it, like 70% of those over 65 are going to end up in some form of long-term care. So it is a big issue that people have to worry about. Um, and of those 20% are going to need even more than 5 years of care.
Hmm.
So the statistics pan out. This is going to be a big issue. The number one issue of it is the average cost per year for long-term care is $120,000.
Right.
So you're looking at a big bill for your family. You're looking at depleting all of your assets. If you're one of those 20% that goes over 5 years, now you're looking at $500,000 and more that to pay for your care. So on the Medicaid planning side, what we're looking at is really what we're looking at is Medicaid, which is a program that can be used to help pay that long-term care. And it's a program we all paid for. So it's a government program we all paid for, just like Medicare and Social Security. We put our money in on the little FICA bill every time we got our paychecks, right?
Yes.
So we paid into it. The difference between Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid, Medicare, you qualify by turning 65. Social
Yes.
Security, you qualify by hitting the right age. Medicaid, you have to qualify differently for. They're not going to let you use it without qualifying first.
Yes.
And so in Medicaid planning, if you look at it, really what it is, it's about qualifying for the program to help pay for your long-term care. In the grand scheme of things, that's what it's about, is qualifying for that program. And to qualify for that program, your assets have to be certain levels and things of that nature. So a lot of it is either planning ahead. If we plan ahead, then we can work really well to try to get your assets positioned in a way to help you qualify for care when you need it. But if you're in crisis mode, and what we consider crisis mode, mom is in the nursing home now, and she's getting a
Yes.
bill for $12,000 a month now.
Yes.
What do we do?
Yes.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that think there's nothing that can be done. And then a lot of people will think, oh, we have to spend down our assets. They hear about the Medicaid spend down.
Yes.
Well, a spend down is just going broke, right? So spend down is just spending all of your money until you're broke, and then you qualify. Because, the two qualifications for Medicaid is you have to be sick enough that you need it and broke enough that you qualify.
Right. And I think the first part is very important too.
Right.
That it's not like, oh, I've got the golden ticket, I get in. You also have to physically qualify and mentally,
Yeah, you
physically,
have to be
mentally.
at that level of care that's necessary. So it's
Yes.
it's not it's not assisted living, it's not memory care, it's
Correct.
long-term care, which is
Yes.
the highest level of disability at the time of aging. And then being broke, but being broke according to Medicaid and having your assets countable assets to Medicaid is what we're looking at.
Hmm.
And so on the Medicaid planning side, what our job is to sit down with your family and make a plan. And that's really what it's about, is making a plan on how are we going to tackle the beast that is long-term care. How are we going to tackle that $10,000, $12,000 a month?
Right.
What are we going to do to handle that?
Yes.
And there's a lot of times when we make a plan that we can qualify for Medicaid down the road, and maybe we decide not to use it. There's a lot of times in crisis planning where we're able to save the family a lot of money. And we've got cases where we've saved the family back that money instead of paying every month into the nursing home. We're able to save that for the family, save it for the spouse, because what
Yes.
unfortunately happens a whole lot of times is now dad goes into the nursing home
Hmm.
and he's got a $12,000 bill.
Right.
Well, mom's budget is completely blown now.
Yes.
So she's got to pay a $12,000 bill, but also her rent, her groceries, her gas money. Like she still has living expenses that need to be taken care of. And so if we don't plan right, then that gets eaten up. And now we've got a what we call the at-home poor spouse
Yes.
because dad's in the nursing home. And so trying to plan around for that and make sure that we just have a plan in place and be able to, if we can, let Medicaid kick in and take care of that bill so that, mom can keep her income, mom can keep her assets, take care of her. The family can still get the house at the end of the day,
Hmm.
things of that nature. So it's a lot of planning around assets and things like that, which it's hard to say exactly what that is because that's so personal to every single case. Like what is your
Absolutely.
plan versus your plan versus your plan? It's very personal every single case what that looks like. But putting that plan in place to make sure that we can take care of that nursing home cost.
Yes. And so if it's Medicaid planning that is needed, it's
Hmm.
something that many attorneys consider it necessary in estate
Right.
planning, right?
Yeah.
But then for that person who might not qualify for that long-term care need, then because they're going to go to an assisted living, they have to be
Right.
prepared to pay. Again, those rates keep going up. It's seven or
Yeah.
eight thousand dollars a month. And do you know what that's going to look like, big picture, long term, and how you can plan for that too?
Yeah. And that's also why a lot of times what we say is, what is the plan for everybody? The plan for everybody is to build a toolbox, a
Yes.
full toolbox. So we put a lot of Medicaid planning into a toolbox when that's not even on the horizon yet.
Okay.
65 years old, perfectly good, good enough health for 65, something like that. Not even a thought in their mind about that. But we put that tool in the plan because when it's time to plan, you can't go buy new tools. So it's like you got to build that toolbox now. You think in crisis mode when you're disabled and unable to move, unable to take care of your stuff yourself anymore, you can't go to Lowe's and Home Depot and pick up new tools. We have to work with the tools we have. So building up that full toolbox instead of, I have a will, I'm fine. Well, that may not be the tool. That's not the tool you need for Medicaid planning. It may not be the tool you need for estate planning either. So a lot
Right.
of times we're building up that full toolbox, making sure that everything's in there with revocable living trust and asset protection trust, powers of attorney for finances, powers of attorney for healthcare, a will just in case, and some other documents there too. So having that toolbox ahead of time makes crisis planning much easier as well
Yeah, you can
because
grab
we've
it
got
in
the
and
tools
go,
built
okay,
in.
I'm ready to use this one.
Yeah.
I'm ready
So
to use
yeah,
this one.
yeah.
You mentioned community spouse, and it reminded me of an example of a woman I met several years ago. She was living in affordable housing, and she said, "Oh, Linda," she said, "my husband had become ill, and we spent almost all of our money managing his illness, and that's why I'm living in affordable housing."
Hmm.
And so it made me think about estate planning and how that could have helped that family specifically,
Yeah.
and also the community spouse and the division of assets, how that might, is that still a viable estate planning tool, or
That is a crisis planning tool, and
that's
it's
a
not a very
crisis
good
planning
tool.
tool and
That's
not a
that's
very
the tool
good
the
tool?
government wants you to use. And the
Okay.
government says what the government says you take everything you own and split it 50-50, and husband, so
Good
dad goes
luck.
in, yeah,
Good
dad goes
luck.
in, if dad's going into the house, dad's got to spend his 50, and then you would think, oh, okay, well, spouse gets to keep 50, right? Well, no, that's limited. So even you get to you do the split of 50-50, now of that 50% that the wife at home gets to keep, mom at home gets to keep, no, that's limited to about 157. And so if you're over that, you got to spend that down too.
Hmm.
And so you can really wipe out a family's nest egg really quick doing a division of assets. But sometimes that's what you have to do because of the crisis plan. Now we like to use it with some other tools and save some additional funds
Okay.
when we can. But yeah, so that's another one of those misnomers where we'll just do a division of assets and split it all up. It doesn't. It's not the best planning tool. It's what the government wants you to use because, of course, they get more money out of it that way. But we'd like to use other tools during crisis
And
plan.
that's why you pay the attorney, is
Right.
because you may think you know, and you may have, be fairly knowledgeable, and you might have already prepared your documents. But these conversations can be ongoing.
Hmm.
Laws change, of course, and so you want to know that. And so as you see things change, or if a year's gone by and you've had changes in, someone who's passed or somebody who's no longer really a part of your life and shouldn't be a part of your estate planning decision making group, then you need to really get back in front of your attorney that you want to talk to. But just know that there are a lot of tools that can be brought to bear, and an attorney is able to look at it from a universal point of view. He's got the 360. When we're honest and share everything, he's able to really, or she is able to look at it from a 360 point of view, and then
Yeah.
be able to narrow down. I might come in and say, "Hey, Ray, I want to do this," and he's like, "Whoa, can we just sit down a minute, Linda? Hold it a second. I want you to understand this is what you're asking me to do. This tool is could better serve you. Let's talk about that." And
Yeah, that's
then,
why we focus on the goals, not the tools.
mhm,
And so we talk, like, people come in all the time like, I need a will and a power of attorney. Okay,
yes,
wait, what are you trying to accomplish?
right,
Like,
right.
let's talk about what you're trying to accomplish first. Like, what are we trying to do? What are our goals? What are we trying to accomplish? Don't worry about the tools. That's just our tools, right? So
Mhm.
we say, you got a kitchen contractor coming in who's going to redo your kitchen, upgrade the kitchen and everything. Are we going to talk about what tools are on the truck, or are we going to say what you want your kitchen to look like? So you're like,
Mhm.
yeah, you're going to say, I want this type of countertops and this sink, and I want this, these cabinets and stuff. Now go to the truck and get the tools to make it work, right?
Okay.
Estate planning really should be the same way. And we sit down with our clients and we want to talk to them. What do you want it to look like? What do you want your goals? Don't worry about the tools and don't worry about the
Okay.
documents. Worry about what you want it to look like. And we'll go get our tools off our computers, which is the documents, and we'll make it work that way.
Okay. That sounds simple. I can do that.
Right. That's
That
all
works
it
for
is.
me. See, Ray just made it easy as one, two, three, and I'm
There
really
you go.
grateful for that. Ray, how do people get a hold of you or your firm?
Yeah, so you can reach out by phone at 636-757-3850, or you can reach our website and reach us there at polarisplans.com.
And you're going to be really happy to know this, people. There's a little chat bot that comes up and says, "Hey, you want to talk?"
Yep, you can chat with Amy there.
Yeah.
She's the one, that's the name. You get the chat box there. We've got a form that you can fill out and send questions in, or old-fashioned way, just give us a call and we'll take care of you.
Okay, great. Yes, and they're very friendly at Polaris law firm, so I know that personally. Before we end today, I would love for you to share a caregiver tip, either from your professional experience or personal experience.
Really, the number one thing is not too late.
Okay.
It's it's never too late to seek help and to see what's, because that's probably the number one problem I see with on the caregiver side is they come to us and we see it on the back end. I guess it is too late when someone's passed away, but before that, it's never too late to do something. There's always options there. And like you said, what we see way too often is the caregiver comes in like, what do we do now? Because we sold the house and spent all the money. We emptied all the retirement accounts and spent all the money. We cashed everything in we could and spent all their money. And now we literally have nothing. What do we do? And my heart just breaks because if come in beforehand because they were told, oh, we have to spend everything down.
Right.
Well, there's right ways and wrong ways to spend down, and my heart just breaks for those that didn't get the right advice at the front end and didn't come in and get it taken care of. So there's always options. There's always ways to look at it. It's never, oh, well, we didn't plan 5 years ago, so I guess we can't do anything right now. We hear that a lot because of the 5 year
Yes,
look
yes,
back
because the
part.
Medicaid look back.
There's stuff we can do, there's things we can do, there's options available, there's ways to plan even
Okay.
then.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you for that. I think that my
yeah.
big takeaway today is that just what you said, you've got the tools, but what's your main plan and what are you trying to accomplish? And let's do that. And then I have the tools to accomplish that for you.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's just so helpful. And you may plan something that you never need for. We do that with insurance all the time, right?
Yeah.
But if you need it, it's there. And
Yeah.
you've already done your work. So that's the good news. Ray, thank you so much for being with me today. I really appreciate it. I know my listeners got a lot out of it. And I really appreciate how simple you made it for us to understand because that's always what I see and as we're working with people is that's their fear is that we're not speaking in a language they can understand. And you've done that today for us. So thanks so much.
Well, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Wonderful. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me today. Are you ready to learn more? Go to seniorsupportstrategies.com. As always, I value the time you spend with me.